Hey, everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scogle, and you are on the lifeboat. Ugly Hobo, here's the start. Don't drop $3 on that pint. You hear me? Don't buy a short dog. If you buy a short dog every day, I promise you, Holmes, you can find a place to shower. I've been homeless. So was my engineer. So was a lot of people here. I'm sorry. Don't buy that vodka. That's what's killing you, man. That's what's keeping you homeless, and that's what's keeping you from working. Just keep it real. Right? You're managing to hustle up the money for the vodka. That doesn't work. That's what's got to stop. I'm not trying to be cold-hearted, but I'm not. The dream exists, right? The dream of getting off your lowest point and back up onto your feet. That dream exists. Now, Martin Luther King's dream. I don't know that does. I really don't. I feel like we were a lot closer years ago than we are today. Sadly. I don't feel like we've moved in that direction. I feel like they have successfully split us into two camps. It has been their desire from the very beginning, and it is what is happening now. And that's tragic. It really is. Because they are teaching and they are really hammering this, that we're inherent. You know what that word means? Right? Inherent. It means that you don't have a choice, right? My eye color. That's inherent. I got it because both of my parents had blue eyes. I would get blue eyes. There's not much choice to that. I'm sorry, racism is not born, right? It is bred. It is taught by stupid parents to kids who are going to grow up to be stupid people. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. I think that Martin Luther King would be turning over in his grave. I agree with you. I really do. Because what has happened is he's dream. If you ever listen to the speech, and I'll tell you what, the greatest speech of all time. But if you listen to the speech, he talks about judging someone based on the content of their character instead of by the color of their skin. And what we've done instead is we've now made it so that everything that we should not be identifying people through is exactly how we identify people. We identify people by their skin color. We identify people by who they sleep with. We identify people with none of that should matter. The content of your character should have nothing to do with who you sleep with. The content of your character should have nothing to do with the color of your skin. We are now super into it, right? People come out and say, well, I am a black lesbian so-and-so, and that's their intro, right? Or the press secretary for our country does it once a week. Who cares? Who cares? But this stuff has made everybody look different, right? For real. If you are a public official of any kind, if you're in the public light in any way, you're so terrified that someone is going to record you saying something or doing something that people are terrified to take a stand. People are afraid to define what a man or a woman is, right? Because God forbid you say the wrong thing, you'll get canceled for it. Canceled. Eliminated, said that you don't matter anymore, right? Think of the concept, right? The cancel thing is a pretty unusual concept. I don't know. I find it to be one. I really do. I find it to be a terrifying concept. But maybe it keeps people on their toes. I don't know. I think that every time subjects like that come up, what scares me is it always comes back to who gets to decide what's offensive, who gets to decide what should be canceled. Who gets to decide any of that? It would be fantastic if tomorrow we could throw a switch and pick a color. Purple. Tomorrow, everybody on planet Earth would be purple. We'd have to find a whole new way to hate each other, wouldn't we? We'd have to get creative. Trust me, they'd figure out a way. They would figure out a way to divide us. It is what they want to do. And I'll tell you something. I'm not a hater. I got through prison without joining up with a gang to protect me because I wasn't going to do the hate thing. I felt very, very strongly about that. Yeah. So I'm not a guy that, I'm not a racist, right? Never have been. It's never been something that has, I guess it was the way that my family raised me. I don't know. And I'd like to believe it's the same way that I raised my kid, but I don't cater to the hate. And I think that hate is something that even if you're not somebody that deals in it, even if you're not somebody that that is affected, or you think that's not my thing, I was absolutely being affected by it. I was being affected by it in terms of how I treated other people, in terms of how I acted and interacted with people, because I was in a massive echo chamber. And as I've said so many times, I don't think it's an echo chamber exclusively. I think it's an amplifier, right? So I was in with a group of people that the things that I thought and the things that I believed went out, but they came back to me with just a little bit more vitriol, right? If I was believing something a little bit to the left, right, then this was going to take me way farther than I wanted to go to the left. And if I was leaning in the opposite direction, and if I was going to the right, it was going to do everything in its power to make sure that I don't land anywhere in the middle, right? Because the middle would be like all of the fellas coming into the chow hall in prison and sitting down at the same table. Feel me? That's what it would be. If we forgot all of the BS, if we forgot the fact that we were on different teams, then we can actually look at the issues, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's pretty damn sad. It's pretty damn sad that we can't seem to get along. Right? It really is. It's pretty sad that we can't seem to get along. And you know what? I don't know if you tuned in yesterday, but you know what you can come down to every single time? Communication. If you get a group of white guys and a group of black guys and you put them together, right? There are states in the United States that don't put up with the I'm not living with a black dude kind of crap, and everybody is integrated, right? And it's a non-issue. Nobody cares. But you're not going to be able to pull back very easily from the environment that you have built in all of the other places, California being the ultimate example. But the federal system, right? They've fed into this for so long. It was remarkable to be in a place where race relations are still in the 50s, right? Maybe they're a little better than that. Maybe they're a little better than that. We didn't talk, we didn't interact, right? It was like a whites only section and a blacks only section. That's really what it is like in there. It's disturbing as hell. It's disturbing. It really is. But again, it's not as much, I think, the inmates at this point as it is the staff. And I view that staff like I view the governments on this planet. All right. They're a lot happier if the northern gangs and the southern gangs are at each other's throats. They're a lot happier if the blacks and the whites are at each other's throats, because they can sit back and watch. And when the fighting is over, they can go in and sweep up and put the bad guys in the bad guy spots and ship people off. And they look like they're keeping the peace among these savages that can't get along. But I assure you, they're doing everything within their power to make sure that those savages remain as segregated as they can. It's bizarre. But I promise you, it's the same thing that's happening to us. It is the same thing that is happening to us. Right? They are doing this number. They're doing this number at every turn. How can we split them? How can we split them? Guns, good one. Let's split them. Abortion, let's split them. God, let's split them. Race, sex. Is there anything we can sit in a room and say, we could discuss that and there wouldn't be any issues? You say, of course we can. You know why? Because we didn't grow up this way, right? This was something that changed halfway through our freaking life. But there is a whole group of people that are growing up this way. There are a whole group of people that are living in a world that is so different than the one that we grew up in. And I think it's certainly not better. It's certainly not better. Yeah, we bleed the same. I promise you. I promise you, right? Pull a heart out, stick it on a table and tell me what the race of the body that it came out of is, right? Or a brain or anything else. right? The parts look pretty interchangeable to me. But it's pretty bizarre. It really is. It's pretty bizarre. But I think we got to get away from this crap where we take pride in things like whatever you're born with, right? I just want you to know I'm proud that I sleep with women. I'm a heterosexual male and I am proud as hell of that. And I want the world to know who I find attractive. Honest to God, do you need to know that? Do you? I mean, I don't lead with that. I mean, it may come up, but I don't lead with that. Oh, I'm sorry you didn't get a notice. This is happening a lot, people. Some of it has to do with the fact that they only do X number of notifications per day. That has something to do with it. Some of it too is that they're not excellent at getting it out. I mean, we can't complain much. They do a pretty good job, all in all. The big red button, I don't have a lot of complaints with. A lot of people do. Honestly, they've given us a heck of a platform to try to go find people that need help, right? I think that it's pretty cool that that we have an ability and an opportunity. So I'm not too bummed out when something happens and there's a little skip in the road or whatever. We have to play around a little bit on this platform. We got to do what we can to not say certain words because they'll bury the video. And there are games like that we have to play. But we hit 18,000 today, and again, we hit this once before, and then in the same day we hit it, we dropped 200. But we're back. We hit 18,000 again this morning, so pretty excited about that. I would love to believe that we could live in a world where the only thing anyone was judged on was the content of their character. That's it. Nothing else. But unfortunately, that's not happening. My life changed dramatically when I got the diagnosis about the head injury. And it was not the diagnosis that changed me the most. What changed me the most was I was told in no uncertain terms that if I continued to watch television, that I was going to hasten the decline of my mental acuity, right? That I was going to start to experience dementia-like symptoms rather a lot faster if I sat in front of the idiot box, right? So I had not listened to most of the things that people have told me over the course of my life. It seemed like this was a really good one. So at that point, I stopped watching television. I stopped watching movies, and I began to read books. But when I turned off the news, right? Hey, Steve Molesky, good to see you, man. Thoughts and prayers with Steve. I believe Steve is home. He was supposed to leave. I believe Steve went home yesterday from the hospital, but thoughts and prayers. He's waiting on a new ticker. Truthfully, each one of us can make a difference. Each one of us can make a difference. When I unplugged from that hate, how I started treating other people and how I started interacting with other people changed. Certain things that were very ingrained in me no longer seemed nearly as important vis-a-vis this, right? Harm reduction versus abstinence, right? Things that, excellent, Steve. I'm glad you're going home. It was a different, Idiot Box is a perfect name. It absolutely was, right? The Idiot Box was a perfect name. We sat in front of it and we did and we mindlessly watched the commercials as they tried to sell us stuff. And the TV shows were fun and they were there so that they could sell us stuff, right? It's always been that way and it will always be that way. If they don't entertain you, you don't reward them by hanging out through the commercials to get to the next part of the show. Huh? Okay. So they have a vested interest to keep you on the news channels. And what they have found is if they cater to your particular slant, not as an echo chamber, but as a amplifier. It would have been nice if it was an echo chamber, but it's not. And that's why you look at the news channels and they're off into the, no one really, we all reside somewhere closer into the middle. But see, now the commercials are watching you. Completely different setup today than the ones that we grew up in. Imagine if the commercials that we grew up in and we were staring at could change to fit Tommy Bird, right? Or to fit Tommy Scoville, because that's how it is today, right? Your kid isn't seeing the same ads as my kid because the genius AI designed by our enemies from the beast from the east, they're going to decide what they got to do to bend your kid just slightly, keep them there a little bit longer, and indoctrinate them. The longer they're there, the more they can just slip in a little bit of hate, not overwhelming you. They never would do that. If you overwhelm them, they'll walk away. Slide it in. A little bit of hate. Okay. The next time, a little bit more. And the algorithm is just timing you. How long can we go before we give them the dopamine hit, right? How long can we go? And the dopamine hit is you've already told them what it is, right? They're the ones that you watch more than once. They're the genre that you watch more than once. They're the first things that you go to. So they're going to feed you what you want because it literally gives you a feel-good chemical, right? But they're going to decide when you get it. It's not random. I promise you. The video that just came up that made you go, oh, that wasn't random. They timed how many seconds they waited until they gave that to you. And they're going to wait how many seconds before they give it to you the next one. This AI is incredible. It is. I don't have it. I assure you. I get a phone in the store. I'm like, get this off of my phone. I do not want this app on my phone. I want this thing wiped. I don't want it. I don't want it anywhere near me. First of all, I'm not building I'm not going to build anything on that platform. I'm super against that platform. If you want to hang out on it, it's completely up to you. I will not. It's owned by people that I think are poisoning everybody in our country. The dope that's coming across the border, right? We can blame the cartels, but they're delivery boys at this point, right? They're very high paid delivery boys and they're violent as hell, but they're delivering that drug to the United States for somebody else. And that's why, in spite of the fact that the drug continues to kill the people who are taking it, we're going to continue to make it stronger and stronger and stronger. Smart business, right? Huh? Business 101. Kill off your customer base and you'll make more money. Doesn't usually work that way. It does not usually work that way. Now, honestly, a death every once in a while, usually as sad as it is, makes people request that particular dope. If I was referring to the app that makes the same sound as a watch, right? Yeah. And I'm not a fan. It's owned by the Chinese party, the Communist Chinese party. You can laugh about it all you want, but it's a fact. They report every single thing. We let these people, you know how many times I hear people go, who cares? It doesn't make, what difference does it make if they know what I'm doing? All I'm doing is dance. My kid's not doing anything. What do I care if they're looking in on them? That's not the point. The point is that when you give them complete and utter access to every single thing on your phone, they can tailor a program to make your kid believe whatever they want your kid to believe. Whether that's not believing that a family unit is a good thing, or not believing that one particular type of political party or government, they will decide what your kids think. I'm sorry, 6 hours a day, right? You give me 6 hours a day with a kid. You don't think I could turn that kid into whatever the hell we want to turn him into, right? If we've learned anything from LRH and from all of the BS, it's that you can really do damage if you start messing with kids when they're young. Now we let them. We give the government of another country permission to babysit our kids for 5 to 6 hours a day. Makes a lot of sense, right? Makes all kinds of sense. Even if they're not trying to destroy your kids, they're certainly going to make their government look a little better than ours, right? This is why there are people all over the world who think that that's a paradise. They think that seriously, China's got to figure it out. It's paradise over there. It's not the kind of paradise I want to live in. But I guess it's up to everybody. However, if you ask our kids which government they would prefer to live in, go ahead, right? It's overwhelming. And it shouldn't be a shocker, right? This is propaganda. The difference is they used to have to be slick. Now we voluntarily allow them into our living rooms. And when people have the audacity to go to Capitol Hill and say, hey, man, maybe we ought to block this app, they're villainized and treated like idiots, right? Come on, man. All this over dance videos? Get it straight. Man, you guys are stupid, right? I think they call that gaslighting, right? Or something like that. Where they start making you feel like you're stupid for even questioning something like this, right? Oh, it's just dance videos. Ask everybody. It's just dance videos. Here, you want a fun experiment? If you've already got this crap in your house, build a fake profile. Build a fake profile of a 13-year-old girl and watch how long it takes for the first thing to pop up that scares the crap out of you. Play with it. Play with it. I did a show on the Lifeboat, God only knows how long ago, where we brought on a video of a woman that did exactly this. She built profiles on Instagram. She built profiles on, on TikTok and on all of the other platforms, right? When she turned on Instagram, it took 60 seconds for the first offensive thing to come into this 13-year-old profile. A minute. She went all the way to meeting these people, right? Like this was go back. Maybe I'll try to find it and stick it in. I don't know how to do any of that, but I'll try to get Spanky to find it and put it in the Dropbox because it's absolutely worth looking at. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. Well, and this makes a ton of sense. This makes a ton of sense. Right now, they say in our country that one of the largest, one of the things driving a very high rate of unaliving among our children is obviously this, right? When we were kids and we were at our absolute most vulnerable times in our lives, right? There were people all around us in our sphere of influence who could affect us. And your parents would say, I don't want you hanging out with that person because it's going to lead you to become something that I don't want you to be. Now, that person can be a 65-year-old guy in another country. The anonymity that this thing allows means that if you're not really being careful, right? Then what? Watch the videos where somebody takes a voice box and holds it up and talks like I am right now, and it comes out sounding like somebody that's 14. We live in a frightening world, right? We live in a frightening world. And looking back on a dream that is a half a century old, a dream that honestly, you can say I'm crazy, but I felt like we were way closer to a world where we judged people by the content of their character. And then this puppy came out, right? This puppy came out and they amplify the nastiest of the voices, right? They amplify the nastiest of the voices. So what happens is you get the far, far left wackos and you get the far, far right wackos. And the truth of the matter is they will lead the world to believe that we all hate each other. I don't hate anybody, right? Not because they came out some particular way, right? There are people I hate. There are actions that you can do that will make it so that I'm not going to forgive you. I promise. But if by some chance you're listening to my voice and you really do judge people based on what color they are, good Lord, man. I mean, I realize it was probably because of your parents, but you got to understand that was just ignorance baked into ignorance. Not stupidity, right? Not stupidity, ignorance, lack of education on a subject. If you're here and you're listening and you're going, you know what? I love the stuff that Tommy says. I'm repeating a black man's stuff, right? The guy that saved me, right? This program right here is cues, right? I'm repeating what I learned from a black guy. Happens to be my best friend. I have a zero tolerance thing for that. I have a zero tolerance thing for that, right? In any direction, by the way, because there's all kinds of things that we do now that are racist that there that are reverse racist, right? That's a thing. It amazes me the Karen phenomenon, that we can just lump an entire group of people and then use one name to refer to them. If we used an ethnic name to an entire group of people, you would be called just the scum of the earth. But to be able to do it to, are those women disgusting? Yeah, everyone they highlight are. And you see 40 or 50 of those videos in a year, and the world believes every single suburban white housewife is a Karen. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. But see, that's what this puppy does. It's not an echo chamber. It's an amplifier. So if you're somebody that maybe doesn't like the Red Sox and you go to the right place on here, you will start screaming. By the time you're done, it won't just be disliking the Red Sox. You will be saying some ugly stuff, right? Those piece of crap. Start gritting your teeth. This is a ball. This is a ball club, right? Have you ever watched the hooligans? Are you familiar with this term? You guys know what hooligans are? These are guys that show up at soccer matches and beat the piss out of each other, right? They show up for no other reason than to fight, but they're fighting for the honor of the club, right? The guy that wrote the movie Trainspotting wrote another book called Marabou Stork. Disturbing book, really disturbing, but it kind of follows some hooligans, and but violence for the sake of violence is a thing, right? It's a thing. People, we don't stop to think about what the hell happened to our society. You guys ever watch any of those shows like Ridiculousness? You know this one? Calhoun. Nod, you know Ridiculousness? It's an MTV show with a professional skateboarder. He hosts it. And this is very popular in prison. This is on round the clock in prison. And what it is primarily are videos, short videos that they've got of people hurting themselves. And it's funny, right? But it also desensitizes you to things that, if you get to the point where you can laugh consistently at people badly hurting themselves, it has an effect. Rob Deerdrick, thank you. Deerdeck, whatever, Diedrick, him. It has an effect. Trust me, it does. It is stupid, but it's also ugly, right? We sit and we take, a guy gets hit in the junk with a baseball, right? How many times have we seen that? And it's funny. But how about an hour of it? I mean, literally, that's the show is just one thing after another of people that come up really short, right? On jumps, and people who do things, and they would put it on even before I couldn't watch TV. I would look at this and go, I just don't understand. Maybe it's because I was always the jackass that was missing, right? Maybe it's because I was the dude that had all the surgeries. But I watch that and just go, oh my God, it's awful. I derive no enjoyment. But if we normalize all of these things, and it's in increments, you realize, right? How do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. And it's exactly what's happening to our world. Itty bitty little increments. Itty bitty little increments. And if you happen to walk by a television set and you watch this, you go, yeah, that is funny. Till you realize it's been on an hour and a half. For an hour and a half, you've been watching the same things. One injury after another. One dude landing on their face after another. One dude crunching their junk on a bar that they're trying to grind on. Skateboarding. Right? Pleasant. Or 1,000 Ways to Die. Right? That's a fun one. It's a thing. It's a thing. This has allowed people to look at stuff so disturbing as entertainment. There are sites out there that cater to whatever you're into. There are sites out there, and I know this because people love to send me emails and tell me about them. But there are sites out there that are just cartels getting rid of their enemies and filming it. Yeah. People watch this stuff. And you say, how can somebody watch that? This much at a time. They don't start that way. They don't start being able to watch that. They start watching a guy roach on a skateboard for a while. Completely different, right? It's an excellent question. How is that different than the things that you and Johnny do with peppers? What we're doing with peppers is trying to push the boundaries of what our pain threshold is, right? We're not, you're not celebrating our demise in our failure. You're not celebrating broken bones. You're not celebrating concussions. You showed up at the party knowing that what we're trying to do is push it. And we're not like a lot of the other channels. You watch my brother's not in pain. My brother's not writhing on the floor, right? Johnny is talking to you through the process. He's celebrating the heat of the pepper, but he's not, you're not showing up to watch failure and broken bones and concussions. I can kind of understand how you see the two of the things together. I see really big differences between the two of them. I understand that there's pain involved with both, but I think it's more akin to somebody like Wim Hof, who's trying to submerge themselves in ice water, right? To overcome. The average person's not going to make it a minute, right? A guy like Wim Hof can do 15 to 20, and it's because he is overcoming a pain threshold. And this is done in sports. This is done in marathoning. It's done in a lot of different ways. Capsaicin is a newer one, to be sure, but it has really become a thing. And there's actually a league of people that do this and trading cards, and it's a thing. It really is. I'm in my 70s, and I can't imagine what social media will be like when I'm gone. Well, that's really the question, isn't it? It can't continue the way that it's doing. We have no idea what another generation is how this is going to affect kids that are born with it. We're just figuring it out, right? I mean, I was a grown man when the internet became a thing, but my kids were raised with it. It's really an odd world that we live in. Your cat watches The Lifeboat. Well, that just makes sense, right? Cats know people that love cats. I am a firm believer in this. It really is this. It's testing your body's physical limits. I think I think that I've always been a big fan of that as a concept. When I was skiing competitively, you would do moguls, and ski lifts are towers separated by lines that move chairs up and down the hill. Yeah. So the distance between those two towers vary slightly depending on the incline. But we would train by seeing how many of those towers you could do before the muscle failure would make it so that you just couldn't get your legs to do what you wanted them to. It was not possible to do an entire trail. It wasn't not even remotely possible. Mogul runs usually run about between 16 to 20 seconds, 22 seconds. They're very, very fast. But we would train by trying to do much longer runs. And I loved that. Used to love that. I would love that feeling of just where your muscles go, I can't do this anymore. And trying to get yourself just a little bit further. I loved that. I really did. I loved that. I also am a big fan of swimming without air. Been doing that one for a really long time too. I really dig that. Seeing how far I can swim underwater without air has been something I've been playing with for a long time. Because again, you're trying to push yourself, and it requires all kinds of things. And it also requires you to shut off everything in your brain that's telling you that you can't do it. And I really dig all that. But maybe that looks the same as deer deck stuff to some people. I don't know. But it doesn't feel like it to me. But it is the responsibility of the herd to call out outliers on their bad behavior. That's my kid. And that is how communities establish order. Spanx Calhoun makes me really, really happy. You know that? Very interesting, says your uncle. I dig it. I dig it. Social media is, could there be a peak? Maybe. I think that we're probably going to be looking at a more frightening trend, which is going to be the synergy, the bringing together of man and machine. And there's a lot of craziness that is being done with this right now. An awful lot being done with the going back and forth. I have heard that pearl divers can go 15 minutes. I am blown away by that. But I've heard people say that. The longest I have seen a human being do while I was there was 4. And I want to tell you something, 4 minutes in the water is a really, really long time. He was a Navy SEAL that I was able to go swimming with when I was doing some stuff to get my my EMT certifications. And it was it was pretty wild to watch. Yeah, you know what? I have nothing against I'm not mad at Rob, right? I'm not. I mean, Rob's getting paid. Right? I'm not mad at Rob. I just think that watch what we're watching 10 years from now. Because it's never ever enough. It's never enough. Right? You go back and you read how long it took in Hollywood for them to be able to say, frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn. Right? This was lawyers and right? This was sensory boards and just the craziest crap in the whole world to be able to say, frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn. And now we make movies where the mouth of somebody is attached to the rectum of the person in front of them, who's then attached the human centipede. You familiar with this film? Now they make movies where somebody literally, so the person in the front, it goes through everybody. You understand this concept? This is the most disgusting thing. But this is, you keep pushing and you keep pushing. You got to keep pushing. There are always people who come along who say, I'm going to be a little nastier than the last guy, right? G.G. Allen. If you know punk rockers, G.G. Allen. I'm going to defecate on stage. I'm going to throw it at people, right? I'm going to go on a talk show. This was a guy that rock star, punk star. He went on a television show, one of those like Springer kind of shows, to say, yeah, I'm a rock star. Here's my girlfriend. She's 14. He was 30 something, late 30s at the time. Just a degenerate scumbag. I'm sorry, that's what he was. But there's going to be somebody that's going to come along and say, who's the most disgusting human being that ever pushed it? And they'll call it art. They will say, this is art, right? And we're just going to push it a little bit further. But every subsequent group pushes a little further. And I just find it frightening how fast we're moving forward a centimeter at a time. I'm a little blown away at how fast we are moving a centimeter at a time. And I think that we're going to get to a point, right? When we turn around and realize that at a centimeter at a time, we're too far to get back. So I am of a firm belief that we're stuck in this world, right? You're stuck in it, but you don't have to be of it. You don't. You do not have to go, yeah, I'm cool with everything that's going on. You don't have to say, well, it's just where it's going and I'm going to, no, don't be cool with that, right? Wrong's wrong. Disgusting's disgusting, right? We need a little bit better. We need a little bit better. Honestly, is it me? Maybe it is me, man. Hey, Lisa Trimble, good to see you. You don't think we moved by centimeters, Pauline? You sadly, Pauline, you're probably right. Thank you, Lisa. You're probably right. We're probably moving by leaps and bounds. I think my kid just probably got a big old crap-eating grin on his face. When Spanky was a really little boy, there was like a discovery zone, but DZ was not really a big thing yet. And there was a local one it was like a one-off that somebody had built that was just remarkable with huge ball pits and stuff you crawled through. And it was made so that you could go with your kid, right? You didn't turn your kid loose. You crawled with them. It was absolutely a ball. And all of my friends were in their 20s. So like friends would come by and go, hey, can we take your kid to go play at leaps and bounds? And I would say, man, if you say that in front of my kid, you have to take him, because Calhoun would start doing this one with his hands, right? his hands would start opening and closing like this, and his eyes would get really big, and he would go, leaps and bounds, and he would scream it as loud as he could. We'd be like, settle down, you're going to go there. Leaps and bounds, stomping around. It's one of the funniest things you've ever seen. But yeah, I think we're probably moving a lot faster than we used to be, right? I think that that's probably the truth. You saw that talk show with Gigi Allen when it first aired. The host asked him what his message was. He said, if record stores didn't have his records, the kids should burn them down. Sounds about right. Let's just put it this way. He wasn't burdened by deep thought. However, right, he had to push it because the Sex Pistols, right, they were pretty disturbing, right? They peed off the stage. They cut themselves and walked around bleeding, right? There was all kinds of stuff like that. So this was an opportunity for Gigi to push it just a little bit further, right? Just a little bit further. It is our mess. It's not right to leave the mess to the kids. You let it happen, stand up and fix it. I agree. We need to do something about it. We're going to get to the point where we're too far out there, where there's just no coming back. I believe that. That's a possibility. So we had better get on it, right? Question. Aaron will be in Los Angeles on Friday to be with the protesters. Will you be seeing him? Probably not. This weekend is not one that I will be able to get to LA. So probably not. I believe that's this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So I would not be able to pull that together in time. I would love to. I just don't think I could pull it together around in time. But, yeah, I would love to. Very, very cool to watch them doing what they're doing. It is an awful lot of fun to watch, to be sure. Johnny Rotten got his backside handed to him on a plate by Freddie Mercury. You got to love that. That's a good story right there. I read Johnny's book, Johnny Rotten's biography. I don't think he wrote about that one though. Probably because he wasn't too happy with it. But he was an interesting. His biography was an interesting story. He talked a lot about the addiction within the band, particularly about Sid Vicious and his being strung out on dope. It was really kind of one of those. I think that was one of the first super tragedies where everybody knew he was going to die. Everybody knew he was going to die, and they all just watched that train wreck happen. Right? I feel that way with Bam. Like if you guys ever watch Bam, like from Viva La Bam, Bam Margera, I don't think Bam's got. If he doesn't make some really dramatic changes in his life, he's not going to make it. The cat that was on Howard Stern is another one that scares me. There are some people out there now that, yeah, Bam's in trouble. He really is. It's disturbing to watch, and it seems like the people around him aren't doing much. Amy Winehouse is again. That was another one that was horrible. Now Johnny Rotten advertises butter. I did not know that. When I read the book, he had a house in Venice Beach. He was living in Venice Beach. I'm not sure. I feel awful about Bam. I really do. And just on the outside chance that somebody sees this that knows him, send this to him. Tell Bam I'd like to work with him. For real. Because the people that are working with Bam and around Bam ain't doing him any favors at all. Unfortunately, he's got yes men all over the place, and that's not how you get sober, right? He would like to. I do believe wholeheartedly that Bam would like to get sober. But get a look at what happened with Steve-O, right? When Steve-O wanted to get sober, he engineered his life in a way that there wasn't a chance he wasn't going to be sober, right? That's what you do when you want to no longer be addicted to dope. You're going to have to engineer your life in such a way. And that meant traveling with his sponsor, like Steve-O's, he's the real deal, right? This is the most important thing in his life. That's not Bam, sadly. That's not Bam. And maybe someday that will be. I certainly hope so, because I remember when Bam was really a lot of fun. Brandon Novak is a hero of mine. If you've the way that Brandon did it as well. You want to talk? Brandon has a very, very similar philosophy in terms of owning everything he's ever done. And what he's done is tough. I mean, it's a hard story to listen to. I promise you. Brandon Novak's story is rugged. But I've listened to a million, right? Drug addicts tell their stories. And they're always great. Very rarely do they drop my jaw. And when Brandon Novak was done, I just said, oh man, I'm going to meet this dude. Like I got to at some point meet this dude. And I'm sure that we will. I will at some point make sure that I cross paths with Brandon Novak. He's doing a lot in recovery right now. It is tough. It's tough, but very similar to be sure. He runs multiple sober living houses. He does. This is what he has dedicated the rest of his life to. Seeing him and Steve-O together was beautiful, right? Because it shows to people that, you know what? You can get back together with friends that you partied with. You can laugh about stupid things that you did, right? Own the stuff that you made mistakes on and walk out of the room sober. There are people on this planet that think that that's not possible. I used to be one of them, right? It's absolutely possible. So that when people progress, yeah, it's possible. It really is. And that was a fun show. I would love to be able to see Bam as part of all of that as well, you know? And I know Bam beat the crap out of his body, man. I did that too. And that's hard. It really is. And you feel used up when you get older and you're like, oh man, I did all the stupid stuff when I was young and it means nothing, right? It's all gone. Now what? Right? Now what? So I get that too. We show the Novak story at the treatment center I work in. Incredible story. Kay Taylor, I love that. I really do. I love that. It is an incredible story. It is an absolutely incredible story. And because his drug of choice was heroin, you know, I listen to those stories and there's just, I mean, I get it. I just get it. Yeah, it's, get it. Yeah, he's Brandon's incredible, absolutely incredible. And in your face, he doesn't care. He does not care. Iced Autumn, you know, I think that this is a really hard one. You know what I mean? There are a lot of people that there are people who can continue to work in the same field. I think Bam probably needs to walk away from everything and have none of that in his life. I think that doesn't mean he can't go back to it. Doesn't mean he can't skate in his backyard and have a really good time, right? Build him a little park. Bam's still doing pretty well, but I think that you know, focus on you and nothing else. When you're in the public eye, it's got to be so much harder. You know what I mean? Like if there's any mistake at all of any size, they're going to amplify it. They're going to make it worse. And he's not, you know, he hasn't helped himself. Although he's been able to stay out of the news for the last little bit. You know, we always hold out hope, right? But it is hard watching people that look like they're screaming toward a brick wall, you know. By the way, speaking of which, I don't know if you guys have caught the most recent Feldman, but there's another Feldman video making the rounds. It's absolutely amazing. It really is. It's amazing. He's so bad in this one, but it's exactly how he was bad in the first one. I'm starting to think we're getting punked. I'm not even being funny. There's that thing where he goes to put his arms up like Michael Jackson and he misses it and throws the wrong arm first. He did the exact same thing. Like, how could that happen to you twice? There's nobody that could have that bad a rhythm. Like, I could see it happening once. Could never happen twice. Oh, I watched them kill soulmates. I absolutely watched them kill soulmates. Seen it happen. Seen it happen. If you get somebody that is lazy, I promise, if you get somebody that's lazy and they're working with somebody in rehab, do you know how easy it is? The easiest thing in the world is to get a straw man and blame the entire addiction on that person. To get out of jail free for the person that's getting sober. It's awful because it takes no accountability. you're not owning anything. It's going to make it very difficult to move forward for those people, but it happens all of the time. There's a lot, very few, Tommy Bird, very few places these days like to keep them together. That's the rarity, right? That's the exception, not the rule. I promise. They are way more into separating folks than not separating folks. All right, sorry, I had to yell really loud. Hopefully, you guys didn't catch that. I do hit the mute button, but that doesn't always do something. Now I got to make sure that I'm not. Who have I been missing? No, we're good. Yeah, we're good. What? No, I'm still live.
10 minutes after you.
Johnny is going live 10 minutes after I do. So 10 minutes after the top of the hour, Johnny will be going live over on his channel. Stephen, good to see you. Bloody cold, is it? I'm sorry to hear that. Anna Banana, good to see you. Bam was never in a conservatorship. Okay. My brother wakes up early. Yes, he does. I'm usually up about half hour to an hour before Johnny, but he's up really early. He is an early riser. You know, I think YouTube probably has that effect on a lot of people because you have to be, you have to consider multiple time zones in everything that you do. So it's one of those things. Tommy Bird says, exactly. It's a scapegoat. I know those relationships can be saved. It's case by case. Not all are worth saving because not all are real. However, some are. You're absolutely right. And it's tragic. But this has been the business model in rehab since it started. If they don't have to worry about you blaming yourself, you can take guilt off the table as something that's going to cause you to relapse. If the whole thing is somebody else's fault, then you don't need to feel guilty. And guilty is one of the great drivers of relapse. So it's been the gold standard to say, let's talk about your childhood. Now, do childhoods cause addiction? Absolutely. But they're not going to let you tell them otherwise, unless, of course, you have a significant other who's addicted. And then they're going to jump on that as fast as possible, right? They are going to make sure as quick as you can get that, you know, and there is a divide and conquer. It's sad, but it's the truth. You know what, Stephen? I've walked away from a lot of people in my life because of drugs. I mean, my first divorce, we didn't hate each other. We walked away in the best of when we separated, we were madly in love. We're not anymore, but it's very often. I mean, my first wife said, I know I could get you to go get dope anytime I wanted. I can't be with you because I would do it and you would go. I mean, how do you argue that? What are you going to say to her? I promise not to go. No, I mean, I get it. I get it. You know what, Mary Jones? Wow. I will do this. I will do a dive on Elvis. I'm not going to do the entire story. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to talk about Elvis's drug use at the end. I will do a show where I talk about what he was ingesting every day at the end and how he was ingesting it, because those two things are fascinating. They really are. They're fascinating. He would do it in attacks, but you got to hear what he had in there. He would get them delivered. Crazy stuff. I will do that, though. I will absolutely do that. Tommy, I love that you guys are together. I really do. And I love when I get pictures of your family, because it's just proof that people, you can get to the edge and come back, right? You can absolutely get to the edge and come back. Whoa. I know that rehab. That's part of a, there's about 6 in the chain, right? I'm pretty sure I know that rehab. There's Cedar House, there's Chapman House, there's a whole bunch of them, and they're all part of this the same deal. Are recovering drug addicts able to drink alcohol in moderation? That would be on a case-by-case basis, right? And I can't answer that. They will have to answer that themselves. There are people who have been addicted to cocaine who've never had a problem with alcohol, who can use alcohol recreationally. It's a non-issue. I can't tell somebody if that's something they can do or not, right? I have no ability to yeah. That's just, it's above my pay grade. As I really just do not even try. Recovering um, recovering addicts whose drug of choice was alcohol, they're not going to be able to drink recreationally ever. It's not a possibility. And people will say, I know a guy who did. And I will say he wasn't an alcoholic, right? He may have had a drinking problem, may have gotten way out of control. He did not have alcohol use disorder. If he did, he would not be able to drink recreationally. That's the definition, right? Of the difference between one and the other, right? That's the difference. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. I know that those people are out there. It's amazing that they are still out there, and it's amazing that you found one. You have a picture of you when you weighed 87 pounds, Stephen. Good Lord. Good Lord. Wow. Wow. I love that, Tommy Bird. I really do. I love that. Why does AA require prayer? I thought they were a secular organization. The kinds of prayer that they talk about don't really force you to pray to a specific God. They encourage the higher power because the statistics that come back absolutely back up the fact that, say, people who go into recovery with the belief in a higher power have a much higher success rate than people who don't. Not saying God's got anything to do with that. I'm just saying that is the math. So maybe they feel like having a power greater than yourself is absolutely a kind of a tenet to what they believe. Now, I'm a believer, right? But I have always said, if you're not a believer, then a power greater than yourself could be 3 alcoholics or 2 alcoholics, right? That would be a power greater than yourself. So if the only thing you can plug into is the group that you work with, right? That is a power greater than yourself. And I do think that there's something very healthy about saying, I can't do this and I'm turning it over. You can turn it over any way you want, right? If it's not a God thing for you, people say, you can use a doorknob. No, you can't, right? Call a doorknob at 2 a.m. wanting to use dope and let me know how that doorknob is going to work out for you. A power greater than yourself. If you actually believe in a God, then sometimes that prayer is going to help you out. If you do not, well, then the power greater than yourself needs to be people you can make a phone call to, right? Do they give out Bibles in AA? You know what? I think that that's probably a situation where if you ask for one, I absolutely will give you one. There is an AA Bible. And there's also, but what they give out is the big book. And the big book is technically, right? That's not a Bible, although it is sort of the Bible of 12 steps, right? Of Alcoholics Anonymous. But they have done as much as they can, especially recently, to try to make it so that, but you know what? 2 guys decided to put this thing together. They believed in God, right? That's obviously had an effect on how this thing went going forward. If it's a struggle for you, use a different plan. No harm, no foul, right? If that one doesn't work for you, use a different plan. I promise you, you do not have to take 12 steps to the finish line, but you got to get to the finish line, right? And there are so many ways to get there, right? So many ways to get there. So, I said that for a really long time. I really have. I've said that for a really long time. I'm not a good person. And I understand why you're saying that. May I make a suggestion, right? Because when you say it, I swear to God, it has an effect on you. And I used to say it all the time. And I also used to say, F my life. It was one of my favorite expressions. Sadly, it was one of my favorite expressions. Because it was just whenever anything happened. But I promise you, it has an effect. Why would you put that out there, right? And I'm not mocking you because I did it more than you do, I promise. But you're judging yourself on how you were when you were smoking crack, right? That wasn't you making decisions. Is the person who smokes crack not a great guy? Probably. I can back that up, even without meeting you. Yeah. You smoking crack, probably a dirtbag, right? Probably willing to steal, probably willing to do just about anything to get another rock. But that's crack at the helm. That's not you at the helm, right? That's not you at the helm. Nobody in their right mind does the things that people on crack do, right? Hey, people, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody. I promise you I'm not. But if you really are hung up on the God thing in AA and that's going to keep you from getting sober, then sober's not your goal. I promise. When sober was my goal, if they said to me, the only book we got makes you pledge to Satan, I wouldn't have said, well, I'm just going to get high for the rest of my life then. Right? The 12 steps didn't work for me. They didn't work. I tried them. I'm not bad mouthing them. They work for more people than anything else, but it didn't work for me. So this is my plan, right? I learned it from a black guy, a lot smarter than me, and it has worked. I am closing in on 8 years and 7 months, right? And it's working. Pretty happy about it, right? Plain and simple. I'm a much happier camper today than I've ever been. But I don't follow those. And every single day that I get up, Stephen, my goal is to be a better person than I was the day before. The person I was when I was using was a worse person than you are. I promise. Okay? I promise. You can't imagine the person I was. But if you try tomorrow to be a better person than you are today, then something is that's going to be a good thing. It really is. No, Andrew Boudreau, it's not. There's not something wrong with you. In fact, if you look statistically, a great number of people do not like the format of AA. Some for the God reason, others is because it just has a feel to it that is uncomfortable, right? For some people, the idea of being in a meeting is uncomfortable. There's also interaction. And if you're somebody who drank because to go into a social situation, you needed a couple of drinks, and I'll bet you that the 12 steps are going to scare the crap out of you when you find out you got to go do it in a room of people that you've never met. Right? And you're going to do that without taking a couple because they will not let anybody in the room that's been drinking. That's odd, right? That's probably a little bit too odd if you ask me. So it's not the route that I go. Yeah, I wasn't going to use that word, Tommy Bird, but since you did, I get this more than I get anything else. So many people say this to me, right? Yeah, so many people say this to me. I'm glad Tampa B, and I'll tell you something, right? They proved it could be done. Prior to AA, it was we just assume that you work hard enough, you get with the right people, you don't quit, and you're going to be able to eventually put the drugs and the dope or whatever in the rearview mirror, right? We just take that for granted. In the 30s, that was not taken for granted, right? We were under the assumption that this is not something you could treat. If you were one of those people that got too far into it, well, that's the end of the game right there, isn't it? That's the end of the game, isn't it? Yeah, they don't believe in harm reduction. They don't believe in harm reduction at all. I'll tell you that right now. If you go to a 12-step program and you tell them you're doing bong hits until you get your life together because you don't want to drink, they're not going to be cool with that. I promise you, they're not going to be cool with that. So know that going in, right? Maybe don't share that much. Sorry, but if you know that they're not going to be cool with it, don't let somebody tell you what sobriety is, right? I get this every day. Every day somebody wants to tell me I'm not sober. Guess what? Take a number, right? You and the rest of them can tell me that how I live my life doesn't constitute sobriety because I have to never have a drink again. I have to never have any substance again if I want to call myself sober. Well, you know what? Sorry. My drug of choice was heroin, right? Now, I've listed all the other ones I can't do, right? It's a very long list. But yeah, I don't have a problem with booze. I don't. But people really struggle when I tell them that. I don't have to tell anybody. I can sit here and lie to you people, right? No, I don't drink. I'm not going to do that. I buy a 6-pack probably once every 2 months. Then it'll sit in my refrigerator until I drink all of them. I think I might have one in there still. But it's not an issue in my life. But there are a lot of people that hate me for it, which is cool. I mean, it's your business. You absolutely can do anything you'd like, But I do what I get down the way I get down. And I respect anyone that wants to do anything else. It's completely up to you. This right there, how beautiful is that? That is a cat in a basket. I'm going to get a cat in the basket cam Probably not going to happen until the next check comes in. But when the next check comes in, we're getting a cat cam, so that instead of having to pick up the cat in the basket, I can just sort of bring it over here, and then you can see her in all of her sleeping glory. Maybe even put a little small box up in the corner so we can always see what Squirrel Nut Zipper's doing. I think that's got potential. Is it me? Is it me? All right. And people, I will be back this evening at 5 o'clock. Let me tell you something. I've never seen that anywhere at any meeting I've been at, Lisa. That's fantastic. It may be unique to the one you're at. Honestly, I've never seen it. You have? I have never seen that. But by way of full disclosure, I spent a lot less time at AA than I did NA, right? Toward the end of my career, I was going to AA because I thought it would be safer, because I'd be less likely to run into somebody that used my substance. Didn't work out because there were a lot of heroin addicts that had the exact same idea. So we all ran into each other there. But yeah, see, that's always been my experience. That's always been my experience too. But you know what? Maybe they're getting the memo, huh? Maybe they're getting the message. Maybe the number of people that are dying every day are scaring people enough. It's really hard when the courts are ordering people there. Debbie Logan, good for you, man. Yes, there's that. How smart are you, though, to realize that ahead of time? Yeah. For people who smoke, usually the first couple of drinks ensures that happens. They do click up as well. And that's been pretty. That hasn't happened much here, and I'm pretty happy about that. I really am. I think that this has been a great group for being very accepting to everybody that shows up. Doesn't matter how long you've been here or anything else. And I want to tell you, it's good to have Tampa B on the boat. Tampa B is a rock star these days. You know that, right? If you haven't seen when they go out in Florida, it's awesome. I love seeing people and putting faces to the names, so to speak. Yeah, I'm an outlier, so don't wind up an insider in general. I don't know what the heck I am. I really don't. When I was out in the world, I don't know, honestly, right? I've been sober 6 years, 7 months, but I don't live in the world that I used to live in, right? I live in a completely different world. I don't go out. I'm not, going to clubs. I'm not out doing anything. I'm not running and gunning on the streets. I don't see anybody, right? Well, now I live in a place where I don't even know anybody, but, yeah, Tampa B, it's awesome. I really dig what you guys are doing. I do. I love it. But yeah, I started adopting cat. That is just a great way to keep you on the straight and narrow. And it's good for all of those kitties that needs homes too. Why, thank you, Lisa. Thank you. I'm really happy to hear that. Again, it's not been my experience, but I'm really happy to hear that. That's awesome. It has always seemed to me that it's like an emergency room turning away people that 8, you're right, it is 8 years. Did I say 6? Yeah. All right, people, let's see. Nice. That's what I'm talking about, right? A little blowing out the comfort zone. Wharton Thistle, 6 months. And the wife is on day 2. Congratulations, Wharton. And congratulations for your wife. For real. I know, Wharton, that this has been, I'm pulling for you, man. If there's anything I can do to help, to reach out, please. But well done. And please congratulate your wife. That's awesome, Wharton. It really is. That is awesome. Good stuff. Queen of Awkwardness, we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you. Please be safe. I will see all of you on the next one. Let's bust these out real quick. What do you think? Calhounis? Huh? Let's see here. Lisa Trimble, thank you so much. Consistently, Lisa is just, if you are drunk, AA will have a couple guys take you out back. We read this one, and I think she said again here that if you are 13 years sober, good stuff. That is a long time, people. It really is. You know what? I'm always, I tend to get more excited about the first, 6 months. Those are always exciting to me because it's brand new and it's people, you can see that there's huge changes taking place and whatever. But those big numbers are great too. I'm always so impressed that I don't look at that and see 13 years. Like, I think about how many times over the course of 13 years did you have to overcome that desire, or did you have to, take drastic action, get the hell out of the place you're in, do whatever you had to do, reach out to somebody. There are so many stories in 13 years, right? And I know that there are addicts listening who are like, yeah, I get that, right? I get that. There are a lot of people who realize just how amazing it is, how many little battles that you got to win, right, in order to win the war. So 13 years, Lisa, congratulations. I mean it. That is awesome. Couldn't be any happier for you. Now, if you guys want to stop over and see more Scoville, swing over to Chase the Heat. There's a guy named Johnny over there, looks remarkably like me. And my understanding is that he is going live right now. I may stop over there in person and see what he's doing. All right. Let's not hide out as much this year. That's to everybody. If you're lurking and listening to the sound of my voice, we can't see you. Right? Pop up in the chat next time. Just say hi. You don't even have to get rowdy. It's that dipping your toe in, right, to this connection thing. Right? You're listening. Dip your toe in. It's a thought. All right, everybody. Because I know that 149 of you aren't all commenting, but that's okay. We love you. We'll see you on the next one. I am Tommy. Spanks, you want to say something? Yeah, look at that. Normally I get the he's not going to show up thing. But
hey, check it out. I packed my bookshelf up
champions
today. And all those
who show up daily to defend our titles. I love that.
Heck yeah, Tommy Bird.
Calhounis, I don't know what's up with your microphone, but this is the second time.
They can hear me.
Hold on, Calhoun, real quick.
They can hear me. I know how this thing works.
See, they won't even let me do that now. I can't even get out.
When I come to town, people, all of these.
You know what they say about your kids being seen and not heard? There you go. There you go. It's sad but true.
Love you guys. We'll see you. We'll see you later. I'm gonna keep packing up and
got nothing on you, Calhoun. It's a bit of a bummer. All right, people. We will see you at 5 o'clock, and hopefully by then, my son and I will have this figured out. I'm Captain Tommy. Bye-bye.